Well, we're going to start with this winter-killed maple. These two logs I've split with a chainsaw. We're also going to start by peeling some of this maple. It's killed in the winter for a reason. Your finished product won't crack as easily. I'm going to plane the surface of this log with a chainsaw. Now, the reason I don't use a hand planer is because I want a nice rustic look for some rustic furniture. The piece of rubber-backed carpet that I'm using underneath the motor of the saw is to keep the bar oil from getting on the log. Now we're going to notch in some support braces for the legs. You can use what's called a scribe if you want to help you, but otherwise just keep at it until they fit. You may have to shave on the log a little bit to make the final fit. Once they fit, mark them and don't mix them up. You got to go the same way and be in the same spot. Now we're going to glue and screw those braces on. You have to spray down both surfaces with water. We're going to use Gorilla Glue. This is a great glue. If you don't water both surfaces of wood, it won't work too well. Put plenty of glue on both surfaces. Then spread it out fairly even with a stick or some kind of tool. Now, you know one thing for sure. If it fit before, it should fit now. So you might have to wiggle them around a little bit to get it to where it don't rock. See how it's rocking a little? It's not quite in the right spot. There we go. Lots stiffer now. Now I countersunk these logs already, so I can use this screw to secure the logs together while the glue's drying. Later you can take these screws out and drill them out and dowel them if you want. But it's best to suck them up tight while the glue's drying. I will show you how I dowel later in the video. This is going to be one of the legs. It's a little bit big around for the tenon cutter to cut the tenon on it. So I'm going to shave it down a little bit with a chainsaw. I pre-marked the distance, just a little over 2 inches, and then we'll use the tenon cutter on it. This is a 9 amp rigid drill with a 2-inch tenon cutter on it. Let me tell you folks, when you get ready to do this procedure here, have the log secure. That pipe vise is the best tool for that. I've tried many other things. I tell you what, you better have a hold of this baby, because that drill, in combination with that big tenon cutter, can literally break your arm. Now, as you can clearly see, that Gorilla Glue is starting to ooze out of there and grow. It's like a foam. If you take a stick or some kind of tool and shove that glue back in there, you know, and just pack it down, it'll make a much better adhesion. This bad boy right here is a 2-inch ship auger bit. Same thing, guys. Get a hold of this. You can see how it's dangerous. Now you see how I'm angling that. You want that leg to angle out, you know, toward the corner of the bench for stability. And this is where the leg's going to go, right here. I'm going to bore this hole about 2.5 inches deep. I put a pencil mark on the bit so I know about how deep to go. Really now, you broke your arm with that bit, you'd feel dumber than a box of wooden hammers. Anyways, that's what I'm using there to tap that leg in. Now I want to tap it in, make sure it fits. You want it to bottom out. It bottomed out a little early for me, so I'm going to take her a little deeper here. You can check it with a tape measure and see. You want it to bottom out just as it gets to that beveled edge so that it makes a tight fit. Well, we're just going to put this side leg brace together, show you how that goes together. I forgot to show you how to mark out the pieces and decide where to drill the holes, so we'll do that later on the back. This, folks, is a 1-inch ship auger bit. I'm going to drill this hole after putting the leg assembly together so that it's in the right place for the next brace that's going across the bench. This, folks, is a 1-inch tenon cutter. Not quite as hard to hold on to, but get a hold of it. We're going to put a tenon on this long brace. It's going to go lengthwise down the bench to the other side leg brace, thus making a firm support for the legs so they don't get broke off. A tape measure doesn't work, folks. You have to mark these sticks out where they're going to go by putting them up there and looking at them and just making it fit. It's trial and error. Cut them a little long to start with, and then just cut them down a little bit at a time to make them fit. If you cut one too short, there's more wood where that one came from. Just have fun doing it. Now on the side of that leg, I made a pencil mark in the angle that hole needed to go for the pegs to line up and slide in the holes without being, not in alignment with the hole. Now the legs and braces are not glued yet. We're going to mark this long brace as to where to cut it, and also mark the side brace as to where to drill it. Now after several times of dry fitting it, then gluing it, waiting a couple hours for the glue to dry, you can see that you get the right timing on this glue. It pops right off with a knife and you can clean up the mess. Now we're just going to clean up this area where the two come together a little bit. We're going to make a decorative cut on the top of the uprights for the back on the bench. Now we want to choose similar size and shaped pieces for these uprights, even though it's not symmetrical. Of course, the tape measure isn't going to work. Just lay it up there and mark it. One thing I did use a tape measure for was figuring out the leg length prior to cutting the pieces so I wouldn't waste wood. Now I'm taking a look at how this upright looks on there and where the appropriate spot to drill a hole in the bench is. I'm going to mark it both sides, keeping in mind the angle that the tenon is in, so that I'll know how to hold the drill to drill the angle of the hole for the tenon. Now we're going to determine where the arm goes. I want to make this mark first, so we don't want the holes for the back braces to interfere with the armhole. Now remember, you're making this furniture for you, so make it fit you. If you're making it for somebody else, make it fit them. It's not only rustic, it's custom. Now I'm putting a mark just above that armhole, so I know to put this back brace just barely above that armhole. That's also going to come out perfectly in the small of your back every time. Now I'm going to mark this right in place where it's going to be a little long, as it's hard to hold in the right place right now. Now, because this piece has two pieces on one end, it's going to be hard to put these tenons in the holes. So not only am I going to mark it for length, I'm going to mark it for how the tenon cutter is going to go on there to cut the tenons in the angle that it needs to be so that the tenons go straight into the holes. I'm also going to mark on the piece how far to make the tenons go so that they'll bottom out against the uprights. Now's a good time to see if it's actually going to fit me. You want to take this large end down with the 2-inch tenon cutter prior to using the 1-inch tenon cutter. Now, using the 1-inch tenon cutter, I'm going to cut this down to where you leave the last little bit that you made with the 2-inch tenon cutter showing, so that you have a nice little decorative cut at the end. We're going to mark exactly where these holes go, and also the angle they go in at on the uprights. Now you want to drill them right here with that arm in place, pound it in tight, then dry fit it before you drill them all the way. Make sure you're at the right angle and that they're going right in. You're definitely going to want to dry fit this. Get it all in there. Hammer it all together tight right now. It's going to be a bummer to get it back apart. You want it in there all the way where it's going, because now you got to fit your next piece up in above that. Now, keeping in mind that it isn't glued yet, if it doesn't fit your body, you can always rip that whole back piece off and start over. Now you want to mark where this one goes. A good time to have my little sweetheart helper over here that I had yesterday. Oh yeah. But I can pull it off. You know the procedure. Dry fit it, tear it all apart, glue it, pound it all back together. Oh yeah. Are you really thinking about building one of these? Hey, it fits. Now you want to glue up all these pieces except for the tenons that go into the bench and the holes that go into the bench. Now you want to put this thing together. Remember, it's all glued up except for the tenons that go into the seat. We're still going to put it in the seat and beat it together to where it fits tight. See, it's a little flimsy still. But once you put the wooden hammer to it, she'll straighten out. Now they're all starting to fit tight. Now you can take the back out of the seat again. Put some glue in the holes in the seat. Slob some glue on the tenons of the uprights. And put it all back together again. Just like Humpty Dumpty. Now go ahead and make sure they're bottomed all the way out. I mean, make sure they quit moving down in there. You want these joints tight. That's what's going to make it stay together. Take a good look at where the arms are going to go so you'll know where to drill the holes and what angle to drill them. Note that the holes for the arms are not drilled where the holes for the back braces are. Mark your uprights for the arms, for length, and for the angle that the tenon cutter is going to cut. Also, mark the seat and the arms for drilling. That's a dang good thing that I buy my glasses at the dollar store. Mark each one of these uprights for position. This will also tell you which end goes in the seat. Glue these duck pluckers up and bang slap it together with the old wooden hammer. Now we're not done yet, so stand by for the finishing touches. You want to trim these arms off at an angle. Flatten your surfaces with the hand planer. You can also use this on the back as well. You can clean up any unpreferred areas with this pistol grip spinner sander, also all the sharp edges and any little pointed knots. Now I'm going to draw a little bear track on here that I'm going to carve out with the Dremel tool here in a minute. Now the bear track, that's kind of my little signature. So come up with your own little signature for your own furniture. Dremel. My doweling process. I just found a maple stick that would fit the hole nice and tight. I'm just going to clean all the little knots and points and stuff off this stick here, make it look real smooth. Same gluing process that's on the whole bench. Spray all the holes, spray the stick, and glue it.